started here. Congratulations, everyone, for making it all the way through to the end of the day on Saturday, and having the moral fortitude to actually make it to a session in that last time slot. I'm honored to be your presenter. So we're talking about website security, understanding and implementing website security. The title's changed slightly over the course of the process of getting it better and better. This is the best title at the moment. So, so a little bit about myself. I'm the Director of Community Agency Outreach at Pantheon. That means I get to do things like go to camps as part of my job and help us cross-pollinate and share best practices and all kinds of things like that as part of what I do for a living. But then I also work with agencies who are interested in standardizing the Pantheon and doing more kinds of work and helping them get better at what they do, both related to Pantheon and whatever else, other technologies they use and such. My background, before that, I had my own design and development firm called GORTON Studios, based up in Minneapolis, and I did that for many years, and we had all kinds of great clients, worked with folks like nonprofits and government agencies and media organizations and all kinds of mildly, I would say, moderately complex kinds of projects, the $100,000 to $500,000 range kinds of things. So, and that company still exists, actually. I just don't do much with it. Along the way, co-founder of a product called NotesWorld, which is a tool for doing backups of a Drupal website and having it be secure and offsite. If you don't have something that already backs up your Drupal website, you might want to take a look at that. And actually, I joined Pantheon because Pantheon bought NotesWorld and then made the base level free. So that's how I got to Pantheon. Though that combination of experiences has given me a pretty broad, I'm not, I don't know if anybody's truly a security expert. Well, I think we might have at least a security expert in the audience, but I've seen a lot of things, and hopefully I'm distilling a lot of best practices that will help everybody here move forward. I've been doing Drupal for a very long time. I live again in Minneapolis. And I'm active in the community there, hosting meetups and organizing things and helping everyone with camp. We have a great camp coming up this summer for those of us here in the Midwest. It's it's just get on 94 and keep on going, and then stop and pull on over, and we'll take care of it. So just down the road, we'd love to have it. And then I'm dgorton on the interwebs. One of the things, so I just want to kind of start by talking about what we're up to in general. The elephant in the room, as it were, is that web content management is an inherently dangerous thing. There's sort of two things going against it. One is it's connected to the internet. When you put a website out there, it is connected to the internet. And the internet's a great place for cat videos and articles and buying sweaters and all kinds of things, but it is also the source of lots of malfeasance, right? Being connected to the internet is a security risk in and of itself, period. But so that's sort of like strike one. Web content management is a tool specifically designed to be edited by the internet, right? And that's like strikes 2 through 13. To actually have a tool that is designed to be used over the internet to change itself and add new information, etc., is like a security, what? That's the dumbest thing ever. Obviously, there's some other advantages to it. This is why we have to do it, because it's actually very compelling to have something that's on the internet that you can change and edit and such. But because of what it is, it's inherently like 14 steps down the yikes, danger security path. So something that we should all just be mindful of. Data breaches, I mean, we know these kinds of things. Data breaches are really commonplace, right? Has anyone ever seen this graph before? There's a really great, it's information is beautiful is the website, and this is an interactive graph, and it's not caught in its full glory here, but you can just see the data breaches that have happened over the last several years. And it's really common, right? So we have Target with 70 million and eBay with 145 million records. Like these are staggering numbers, and it's commonplace. It's no longer even that what are we going to hear about this week, right? This is out there and super common. And again, for those of you sort of information visualization and just sort of looking at this stuff, informationisbeautiful.net and data breaches. we'll get to this, and it's a really fun thing to check out. But most of us in this room are not Target, we're not eBay, we're not the United States government, and I think it's really tempting for us to think like, not, just little old me. What do I have? Who would want to do something to me? I've got a little something. And the truth is no, you are a target, because actually by virtue of having a website, you've got several things going for you, right? Or several assets that can be something that someone would want. One is you have computing power that is connected to the internet, right? So your website is connected and it has the ability to be used in something, for example, like a tool to go against a Target or an eBay or something like that. Your website has visitors. People come to your website, they visit it with their browsers. If their browsers are insecure, they can put code into your website that would take advantage of it and compromise their missions. It also, maybe your website might do financial transactions or other things like that. You're selling things online maybe. The website might do something like, or a hacker might want to say, for example, take all of that money, right? Go edit your rubric card settings, change your bank account to my evil biz bank account, and take all of the money until it's discovered. Or a hacker might want to do all of those things and several more, right? You have assets, and you're not tiny. And hacker doesn't care if tiny or not. All of those things are there. Another thing that's really important to be mindful of is that security isn't binary, right? It's not on or off. Is my website secure is not a yes/no question. It might be asked like that, but it should not be responded to with a yes/no answer. Website security is not on or off, right? It's a continuum. So if we take a lesson from the real world, we look at, say, safes. If you buy a safe, there's a system for rating a safe. How safe is the safe? Very sense. And that rating system is based on a combination of things. How much time does it take to get through the safe to the stuff that's inside? What kind of tools are being used, and how skilled are the people, and how many are the people? So, for example, a safe that's rated to survive 5 minutes with one person using a hammer bonking on it, who's not very skilled, is a relatively cheap safe. One that's going to last 30 minutes with a team of experts using drills and power saws and that are highly skilled safecrackers is a very different kind of safe. And this is the way people have been doing safes for a very long time, hundreds if not thousands of years. That same kind of thing is true. It's a continuum. It's not, is your safe safe? It's, how safe is your safe, right? So, on one end, very safe. On the other end, not very safe. And a thing to be aware of, and just sort of know, is that perfect security is not, that's not true. There's no such thing as perfect security. Perfect security is a myth, right? If we look at this graph of, this is unlabeled, apologies. This would be time, effort, money. This would be how secure you are. So as you put more time, effort, and money into making something safe, you get, it gets less and less. There's less and fewer ways for somebody to attack you, right? But there will always be a gap. So you just have to be aware of that, right? So today I want to talk about just talk about the landscape of all of this stuff. Hopefully, equip everyone here to have fewer and smaller gaps in the websites that you take care of. A little bit better preparedness, and then we're going to be doing that by just sort of examining some layers of websites. So we're going to look at specifically 3 layers. This is kind of very Drupal-centric talk, but I figure that's appropriate given that we're here in MidCamp. So the platform layer is the first one we're going to look at, and that's Linux, Apache, and MySQL, and PHP, and the proverbial LAMP stack and everything else that's involved, that's sort of supporting technologies that Drupal sits on top of. We're going to look at Drupal itself. We're going to spend a little bit more time here, the application layer. And then we're going to look at sort of organizational layer. That would be, I guess, perhaps the nice white frothy layer of the kind of habits and procedures and things that you might have as an organization to help keep your site secure. So the platform, the stack that we are all sitting on is, again, something like this combination of technologies. And I'm curious, I know it's sort of late in the day, but like as a wake-up exercise, we're gonna turn this into a game. So last week, there were a bunch of Linux, like every week, there are security bulletins that go out, right? Anybody want to guess at how many Linux security bulletins went out last week?
30.
What's that?
30, I'm just guessing.
Yeah, it's a guess. Anybody else?
Hundreds?
Say it louder.
Hundreds?
Hundreds? That's a guess. Right. I was surprised by the number. I looked this up. It was 91. Right? That was from linuxsecurity.com. It was 91. And a lot of those were not related to websites. And just kind of browsing through, like, probably 15 of them could plausibly be related to stuff on the web, and the rest of it was just like things and other stuff. But even just parsing through that list is its own little chore, and then figuring out what do I do with this. And I would just say that platform security, for people who are probably at a Drupal camp, platform security is not something you want. You do not want this monkey. It might be kind of fun to have a server. They might be cute, but they're going to do bad things to your equipment, right? The metaphor breaks down. Anyways, you do not want them like that. And then the little asterisk here is unless, and I'm just curious, is anybody here a sysadmin? Excellent. All right. So, and do you have 24/7, 365, like a team of people you're working with? Excellent. Okay, so you three are qualified to be, but you probably don't want the Drupal monkey. Like if I was giving this presentation someplace else, where I'm going to spend most of the time is, ooh, that's not inconvenient.
Ignore it, it comes back.
Oh, right, that's right. Yeah, this whole thing. Right, so with the exception of very few organizations, very few people, probably in this room, you do not want to have to deal with sort of platform security. Again, it's sort of looking at this. So I would just say you want to find something that's going to be good for hosting. So Drupal.org has hosting recommendations, and I went to this and I was actually I felt a little bit. I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize what was on this page. So I'm going to talk just a little bit because if you go to this page, there's all sorts of folks who are supporting Drupal by being on this page, and that is a good thing. We want to give them our business. There are a couple different categories over here on the right-hand side. And I want to talk about them really briefly because there are some security and other implications to these things that you should be aware of. Typically, this is like sort of a lot of traditional architectures. So shared hosting is the cheapest kind of hosting. It's the first one that pops up on that list. And that's like the $2.95 and all you can eat buffet. Kind of, it's not very high quality. We can kind of intuit that. But the way that works is that you get a server and you put as many sites on as you possibly can, right? And those sites are all sharing resources on this server, and it's sort of like mass-produced websites. If one of these sites has some bad code that starts using a whole memory or a database or something like that, the rest of these sites are going to miss their, they will all suffer. And another little piece of this is that it's very difficult to secure these confidently, so that this one can't do something off of this one. So if you're doing anything at all, sort of serious, like sort of taking, for example, you've got an online store or something like that, or you've got personally identifiable information, anything more than a blog, I would be very, very, very cautious about choosing this option. There are a number of issues. If your website is worth more than $2.95, spend more than $2.95. VMs is sort of like the next one to jump up. You basically get more. It's an okay picture. You get a little bit more. It costs a little bit more. Again, oftentimes it's sort of these. You can start piling these up a little bit. There's an easy temptation. And on the big end, probably I'm guessing if you have a team of 3 sysadmins, you probably have some sweet cluster and maybe a lot of them. I don't know. Clusters are like sort of like the awesome thing, right? Where you have load balance up front, multiple application servers, and a database, it's replicating, and these are typically designed by very smart people who are having to take a lot of considerations into place and like doing some really cool advanced technology kinds of stuff. But it's complicated, and in the real world, that turns into very expensive, right? So a cluster typically is something that you have, the biggest websites in the world are running a cluster. There are of course pros and cons to all of these things. there are a couple of cons that security cons to clusters. As, again, pros and cons to everything. One of them is that typically a cluster is so expensive to run and maintain that there's only one of them, right? So the production cluster is the production cluster. Anything that you are doing that doesn't have you can't necessarily know that your code will work on the production cluster because it's the only instance of it in the world. So that can have security implications. I'm forgetting the word there. Implications. That's there is in the real world it gets messy though. Most of us probably are working on more than one website. Maybe not, but is something that I would caution or mention is that anyone managing all of this, it's a lot. Whether that's you or the hosting company, or how many of this does this feel familiar to anybody? I'm just curious. Is this yeah, I deal with that. Yeah, no, yeah. It's not fun. It's hard to manage. There's sort of there's sort of like next generation. This sort of more represents like a containerized architecture. So next generation architecture is something that has an advantage here, where you just have traffic comes in up here up to an edge cache. As application, so this would be a small site, have a container. If you need more resources, you just dial up the resources, pop, comes online. And this is again like the sort of promise of cloud computing. This is how Pantheon happens to work. It's not the only thing out there that does that, but this has some nice implications for security and performance and other things. Because you can, as long as all of this is uniform, you can say we have new security things, make it happen, and it'll go everywhere. So I would say when, just coming back to choosing that platform layer, when you are doing that, in addition to checking out the price of a host that you're going to choose, I would suggest 2 security questions you might add to your rubric is asking how they handled Heartbleed and Drupal dead. And Heartbleed, for those who aren't familiar with it, was a perhaps somewhat ironic vulnerability in SSL, which is the thing that we use to secure traffic. So the most traffic that was judged to be secure is using this protocol, and that was the thing that had a vulnerability. So things that were supposed to be secure were not. That was a bad one. And then Drupal again was the October, November, something like that, of 2014, which is a SQL injection attack that was really bad. If the hosting provider you're interested in selecting has good answers for those, that would be +2. If they don't know what Drupal again was, or they give sort of unconvincing wavering answers on this sort of stuff, that should raise some red flags. I'll save Pantheon for the last time. I'll just give the answers that Pantheon has. It doesn't matter who you use. Just use something that can handle the stuff. And in both cases, because the way Pantheon works, engineer was a problem, said, okay, this is how we fix it. Fixes it. A couple hours later, all the sites on the platform are protected. Again, where you are doesn't matter. Please just use someone who can answer those things. So let's look at the application layer. So one of the wonderful things about Drupal is that it's very flexible, and that's a hugely wonderful thing. However, that means you can misconfigure it and do things in a way. And this is probably the most. This is the place to start for Drupal security. Make sure it's configured securely. True fault. How many of these items are true? Does anybody? So you can configure Drupal that anonymous users can. Which of these are true? Does anybody know? Volunteer? All. Yes. What else? Anybody else think of anything else that you can do as an anonymous user? This is anything. You can configure Drupal so that an anonymous user means somebody's not even logged into the website, right? So you can set it up so that somebody, and Drupal's really awesome. Maybe you want to build this website. That's pretty cool. But probably most of the time you don't. And that's a matter of your configuration settings, right? So going through and making sure that you are checking all of your roles and permissions, And securing Drupal is like the place, like that's absolutely essential. The number one thing to do is secure Drupal, and one of the places to start is actually with user one. So user one in Drupal is this magical user that Drupal's access system says, like, when you're asking for permission, it says like, all right, hey Drupal, I would like to do something. And Drupal has a whole, big lot of things that it asks about that. But the first question it asks back is this user one? And if the answer is yes, then Drupal says, okay, it doesn't even care what you're trying to do. Like, that user gets to do everything. That's a very special, powerful user. So, user one, make sure you don't give it a simple password. It should not be password, nor password 123, nor admin, nor anything else. If you have multiple, secret, also bad. Secret 123, still bad. Secret 123 exclamation point, pretty bad still. So get some just crazy thing, and don't, for those of us managing multiple sites, it can be a temptation to say like, all right, I've got 10 letters and numbers, kind of makes sense to me. I can remember it, I'll use it on all my sites. Don't. And the username doesn't have to be admin. You don't have to, you don't have to make it too easy to guess. It could be something else. It doesn't have to be.
How dangerous is it to use a pattern for your password? So you don't necessarily share, but you have your own kind of personal pattern. Is somebody going to figure out your pattern?
We'll talk a little more about that. I think so patterns are bad. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's my short version. And I'll talk about why. Maybe one of the things I'm going to talk about will make it worth the hassle of saying like, oh, maybe I want to deal with this. Permissions and roles. Like,
Could I add something to your secure user one list?
Please, yes.
Don't ever log in as user number one on the production site.
Sure. Especially not as,
If there's any XSS vulnerabilities and you happen to visit a page with one, everything is all over.
You can actually block user one. You actually can just block the account, so no one can log in.
Oh, sure, that's interesting. All right, 2 new bullet points. Be careful with user one, essentially boiling down to user one on the production site. Again, very dangerous user. Powerful user, great. Permissions and roles. When you install Drupal modules, there are a lot of permissions that come with it. Anything that says administer, blah, 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 is powerful. Be aware of what that does. Find the documentation. Read it. Administer filters, in particular, is one of the nasty ones. Sounds a little bit innocuous. That can take over a site. Do not use the PHP module. Right? There's a PHP module. Don't. What that allows is for people to paste PHP into the website and then have that PHP run. Right? And it can be quick and dirty and hacky and get something done, but don't. There's better ways to do things. It's very, 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 very insecure. Even if your code is perfect and wonderful and will never be used for malicious intent, that means somebody else can paste in PHP. Then they're maybe not a nice person. And then use the update module, right? There's an update module built into Drupal core. Turn it on. Wednesdays are security release days. Don't be surprised. Plan for Wednesdays. So turn it on, get the emails, and then do the updates. There are a number of Drupal modules that are really good for helping harden and make your Drupal site more secure. Paranoia and Security Review are 2 great ones, and they're similar in some ways in that they look at Drupal and Drupal settings and how it's configured, and just check to see like, is there anything here that seems insecure-ish? Permissions log will give you finer grained control over the permissions on a website, like so who can access the permissions page, for example. Secure login, probably actually just use HTTPS all the time and backs, but if you are using, when people are logging in, they should always be doing it over HTTPS. I'll say that, and this model does that. Hacked is a very interesting one. It does not prevent you from getting hacked. What it does is it looks at the code on your site and says, is this code the same code? So it says it's views version whatever. Is it actually views version whatever, or has it been changed in some way? Hack will go through and compare your modules versus the modules that they can download and say, like, are these all the same? Like, you can just, like, nice little sanity check. Like, it says it's, whatever, but is it really? Password policy and password strength. Again, like make sure the passwords are complicated. And two-factor authentication is, for example, using a phone or another device to sort of verify that when you log in. Was that a?
Oh, I was just going to say paranoia actually blocks bad behavior. It doesn't review settings. It actually prevents you from doing things.
Thank
so,
you.
Like, you can't enable the PHP module if paranoia is installed. And you can't disable paranoia if paranoia is installed. You have to actually go to the database and turn it off.
Awesome.
And secure login, just do everything over HTTP.
Yeah, right. I know. I probably should pull that. This is
Not
actually,
really secure.
Yeah, I actually pulled. So I think in the next slide I mentioned a talk that Gabor gives in, or maybe shortly. I talked about that. Those are recommendations taken from a presentation Gabor did a while ago. I probably should have pulled that one because it should just always be HTTPS. Anyways, Drupal also has a security team, which is fantastic, and it's one of actually the strengths of Drupal. And I hear it often cited out and about in the world, in the open source world, it's like, this is the way security ought to be done as an open source product. And I know we have at least one member of the security team here. Two. Oh, just Mr. Snowflake, that's right. Yeah. Wow, I'm getting it. Good to know I'm getting the security talk in front of the security team. Guys! Security. Yeah.
There's a problem. We'll change your slides for you.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Ask for permission.
The Drupal security team, it protects Drupal 7 and 8, the two most recent versions of Drupal. Up until before Drupal 8 was released, Drupal 6 was one of the things that was being protected. So 6 and 7. Wednesdays are the days that security releases come out. The process and procedures are all documented online, but basically if you are a coder type person and you think you see a security issue in a module, the process is to very quietly contact the security team, not like, hey, I found an error, security, woo, like,
Twitter?
Yeah, not the Twitter, right, that's not the first person to tell. You contact the security team, they will review it, they will work with the module maintainer. If they think that it is, yes, a legitimate security issue, they will work with the module maintainer to get it fixed. And then once it's been fixed, then it will be announced with like, hey, there was a problem, download the fix, and you're safe. And it's the right way to work. So if you're using Drupal 7 and 8, hooray, you are protected by the forces of good. If you're using Drupal 6, you should be aware you are no longer protected by the forces of good, except for unless you find someone who is willing to do this for you. And happily, one of them actually is David. Is anybody here running a Drupal 6 site? Okay, so you should be very, I would encourage you strongly to talk to someone like David. There are a few firms, companies that are offering Drupal 6 support. There's a page on Drupal.org, like project, like Drupal 6 LTS or something like that. And yeah, all the companies offering this support service are collaborating and sharing any fixes. So if you're on this company's like they're supporting it this way and they're supporting it, that's not happening. The code is being collected in order to be an approved Drupal 6 supporter of security. You have to agree to collaborate. So I would check that out, or turn around, David, raise your hand. Oh, wait, yeah, so Drupal 6 security. Yeah. If you are a coder, there are this is the place to start. Writing secure code is a good guide. If you are the sort of person who writes Drupal modules, learn this. Just go to this, like that's your next step before you write your next module. Gabor gives a talk from which I took the list of modules from, actually, and a number of other things, where he reviews the OWASP 12, which is the Open Web Application Security Project. Thank you. They have a top 10 list of like things that just web security is more than just Drupal. So they have a list of the 10 most common vulnerabilities that are out there in web applications. And he gave a presentation actually at DrupalCon London where he reviews those 10 things and he goes through at the code level like how you should protect against number 7 using Drupal. These are the things that you should this is how you should code it, or how Drupal handles it. And so that is another great presentation. Very very nice review. I have chosen 3 that I think whether or not you're a coder or not that you should know about. Like this is just sort of like general education of web security that I think are just good, just like digital literacy. So I'm going to talk at length about, or a little bit more about each of these three, but there are other kinds of vulnerabilities out there. And again, these are great resources to learn about some of the more specifics of that. SQL injection is this classic, it's been around for a long time. This is a hilarious, hilarious cartoon every time I see it. I don't know how well you did it. So if I had this in school, just calling in, did you really name your son Robert? Single tech, paren, semicolon, drop table students, semicolon, dash, dash. Oh yes, little bucket table. Yeah. All right, and so this is, and boom, by typing that into the last name field, what has happened is that on the other side of that, typing last name that says like, oh, we're going to save little Bobby's name to the database. It just runs the command and says save Robert, and then gets to the end of the command, like, oh, all right, just his name now goes in as Robert, and then it executes the next thing. All right, so save that, and then drop table students, boom. All right, I'll execute that too, because I'm just doing database commands. And this is the pattern for SQL injection. It's not particular to web applications, but it's certainly a lot of CMSs, including Drupal, use databases. It's like this is one of the very first vulnerabilities I remember learning about and seeing this and being like, oh, wait, how many things have I written? Do I need to go rewrite? Back in the days when we were all writing our own CMSs. DB query, short, just like in Drupal, proper use of the DB query function will save you, right? And then this particular node has, these slides, by the way, are uploaded to the node on the campsite, so you can check these out anytime. But this node has all kinds of information about, you can properly writing code for Drupal that will not be vulnerable to this problem. Cross-site scripting is another, again, sort of like digital literacy, whether or not you're coding, should be aware of it kind of thing. And it's basically using JavaScript to run browser actions in the current website. So, and this, again, actually from Galbert's talk, up to 64% of websites, not necessarily specific to Drupal, might be vulnerable to this. This is like hugely out there. And so what this does is, if anyone's ever been to a presentation where they're doing something, you see something online, and it says like alert, hi, or something like that, and they say ha, and you're like, therefore it's insecure, and you're like, alert, hi, what? Has anyone ever seen that kind of pattern? I don't know. Like, yeah, okay, great, thank you. The reason that's like boom done is because what that means is that the browser has been given a series of commands to do something that this browser is able to do. So, for example, if the user who's logged in is able to change the bank account number where your orders are, where your funds are being transferred to, or change the password of some user, or delete some content, or add some content, or do any of those things that we said, like, oh wow, it's possible to configure Drupal so that an anonymous user can do any things, upload images, blah, 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 whatever. The JavaScript can do all of that silently by malicious, sort of like just running in the background of the browser. So that's what cross-site scripting is about. Again, super common. There is, so use filters. There are good guides to how you use these things out there on the Drupal. And we're back. The last one I want to cover, which is sort of like, again, coders are not to be aware of, is cross-site request forwarding, CSRF. And it's basically taking actions on another site. In my one window, I'm logged in over here to my Drupal account and my Drupal page, or visiting a site on Drupal. On my other window, I'm logged into my bank account. And you can see right here, this is like an example of what this looks like. So it's a href, right? This is the HTML to make a link. It's http://bank.com, transfer.do, account, Maria, amount, $10,000. View my pictures. right? So it looks like a very, this is what's shown in the browser. This is what the human being might click on, whether that's in an email or on a website or wherever. Where it's going to, however, this is going to fail if the person is not logged in to bank.com. And we don't have to tell exact, right? But if they are, whoops, right? And that's a pretty cheap and easy attack for a possible gain of $10,000, right? And so this is, that's what CSRF is about. In Drupal, we protect against it through the proper use of the Forms API and tokens. And again, this has all the good information on that. Yeah, good. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, so we're going to go to the sort of the last layer, if you will, of security, and that's about team processes, because it takes humans to be secure, and it's a lot about developing good habits. Use secure encrypted communications. It's 2000 and what is it now? 16, right? That is actually coffee, right? Once upon a time, this was a barrier, right? It was expensive and sort of a pain to do these things. And while there's still, some level of effort involved, there's a service called let'sencrypt.org, which came out actually beta, I think, just in December, which does free secure certificates. It's now free to create, like this. Again, and what this is doing, I should say, like this is the little lock icon in the browser if you're going someplace to buy something or do anything, or you can just go to Google now, right? Because it's best practice to just encrypt all of things. There are services like Cloudflare that have CDNs that will give you, at their free level, SSL, and there are others as well. SFTP for file transfers, do not use FTP. If you have a host that allows FTP, just cross them off the list, right? That means other people are using FTP. And the last one actually kind of coming to something, so you were asking about patterns and passwords. So be cautious, especially over wireless networks. I'm going to imagine a scenario where if you can, when we open up our laptops and we're somewhere, what the laptop does is says, hey, I like the internet. Anybody here got some internet? And it'll start sending out things. It'll say, I know about lots of different, internet, hotspot things. I like connecting to Xfinity Wi-Fi. I like connecting to Linksys. I like connecting to, Crown Plaza Suites Hotel, where I stayed 2 years ago, and it gives out a list, basically, of here are all the networks that I know about. Is anybody here one of those? And if you can imagine a device on the other side that says, I'm going to listen for that. All right, and when I hear someone asking, is there an Xfinity Wi-Fi here? I'm just going to say, yeah, I'm an Xfinity Wi-Fi. Yeah, okay, hey, great. And now you go log in, and it's well, I don't care. Oh, wait, I just noticed that your username and password is blah, 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 and this really interesting password. I wonder if that's a password for your bank account, too. I'll just store that away somewhere. And then just go browse along the way. This whole time, your traffic is all being routed through that other thing that is not Xfinity Wi-Fi or not Linksys. That device does exist, right? That's not necessarily common, and I don't want to well, maybe I do want to panic just all a little bit, right? Be cautious, especially over wireless, right? If you're doing something on a website that exposes, for example, you log into a Drupal website from local cafe, even if you see HTTPS, all of a sudden, something like this could actually just make it all obsolete. You didn't type it into your website, you typed it into the device, and then that typed it into your website, and it remembers, it knows, right? Especially with the ubiquity of things, and the network of, the Internet of Things as well. Just be aware, have a little bit of paranoia. Secure code management, again, as an organizational level, is all about the processes that you use to keep your code in a good state. So if you're not using a version control system, something like Git, for example, is a common example. That's what is used most often in Drupal. We used to have CVS, concurrent version system. Yeah, that was beauty. A lot of us maybe use SVN somewhere in between. But make sure you're using something to track your code changes. Git is an excellent choice. It doesn't have to be the one you use. It's going to be probably the most commonly used in this community. And that allows you to sort of like know when changes are making it in and have something to compare against. And again, it's not just for security, but it's a security bonus to have this. Make sure when you transfer databases around, like if you're doing something and you need to copy the data from a live site or from anywhere so that you can work on it locally or something like that, sanitize it. Pull out usernames and passwords. There's a great little rush command, SQL sanitize, right? So don't just grab the database, sanitize it. Again, like personally identifiable information and other things like that, all of a sudden are now just on your laptop. What happens if your laptop goes somewhere or it is somehow compromised? You have, protect yourself from that, and your users, and your organization. Increasingly, the web is being expected to be an interconnected web. Like, I suppose that's what we always thought it was going to be. But now the computers are talking more directly to the other computers. And they do this frequently using things like API keys. And those are like secret usernames and passwords, basically. Actually, I see we have Mr. Locker here as well. I'm like doing this talk in front of everybody. This is a service that will do that for you, that will help protect your keys. Something worth looking into. You don't have to use this again, but do something to protect keys and things that shouldn't be swapped around and shared. And I'm sure we all have stories. I will say that. If you ever want to hear a crazy, bad API, grab a beer. We're almost at that time, and I'll tell you something. And then be ready with good support procedures, right? So. The gaps will exist. There will be times where there's a security update that's needed and you need to react, right? So know in advance, know the sites, catalog the sites. What are the sites that you're supporting? It's not a surprise, it's on Wednesday, right? So be ready. Maybe your organization, if you are supporting Drupal sites, maybe you shouldn't have meetings on Wednesday afternoons. Maybe you shouldn't have deadlines on Wednesday afternoons. To the extent that you're supporting Drupal sites, be ready for a possible emergency or a possible, I need to do this now, and not go actually have that meeting or whatever. Make sure you have clearly defined who is responsible for taking a look at security updates when they come in and evaluating them. And who do they get to have helping them to the extent that there's, again, maybe a lot to manage. Does that person have a nice way to escalate? I don't know, this looks like it could be serious, or this is serious, I need help. Do you have a pattern for that? As an organization, make sure you go through, sit down, have a meeting on Monday. If you don't have clear answers to these things, come up with them, right? And know what your emergency procedures are, because there will be another Wednesday, because it comes every Wednesday, and one of those Wednesdays is going to have something big. And then, again, just like anything, fire drills, we've invented fire drills for a reason. It helps to actually go through things because you discover problems in your procedures if you realize what happens if we have to do something and have to push out to 28 different sites or 328 different sites or 3,208 different sites. Your preparedness to handle 32 versus 320 might have grown over time and your procedures may not have kept up. So, in summary, here's my recommendations. So, use a secure, reliable performance. Well, reliable performance, those are good things too. But use a secure Drupal host. Again, the drupal.org/hosting page is great. I will, of course, say Pantheon. Yay! That's a great choice. Configure Drupal carefully. Really, really, really critical. Use those security enhancing Drupal modules. Follow the coding best practices. Just communicate over secure channels. Have good secure code management habits. And clear support procedures. With that, just a question.
So always Wednesdays, so like was the Drupal getting release, was that a Wednesday as well? Or would they do an interim one if something was really, really critical?
I believe that one was on Monday. They started saying, hey, Wednesday is going to be important. So just make sure you don't not go to work that day. But it was Wednesday. Is that?
It was a Wednesday, and we did try to highlight that Wednesday was a special Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know, it was sheer luck that I understood the importance of that. I mean, because this was a few years ago. I'm still learning, and it was like, oh, these guys seem really serious about this. I guess they better do the patch right away. And I was very, very lucky.
Yeah, good job.
They have the Drupal security posts have a listserv that you can get Wednesday updates, get your email on Wednesday. And you can land it on Twitter, so.
Yep. Drupal security on Twitter is the Twitter handle. Yep. I think, right?
Yeah, Drupal security on Twitter, and you can get I think the best way to get the notifications is through the email list, which if you go to your profile page and edit it, someplace it's moved around about 5 times now, but someplace in there you can subscribe to those email lists. And they're emailed out almost simultaneously with the release. Twitter sometimes takes a little longer.
You can use a separate email so it doesn't feel cluttered with that.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
It's interesting, a lot of people programmatically create tickets from every one of those in their internal ticketing systems.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So, and we get the bounce back replies, and every now and then we get the internal communications, talking about,
Interesting. That's very interesting.
One thing, there's also a service called DropGuard, which I'm not related at all.
Yeah.
You use it, and it actually updates your websites, your own. So it connects into Git, it monitors your production sites, and if there is a new security release, it will automatically update whatever module or core into Git. And then, depending on your hosting environment, maybe even automatically deploy on the production sites. So for us in Europe, the whole Fun Wednesday is actually Wednesday evening.
Yes, right.
So we just get up on Thursday morning and see, oh, these 3 sites have been updated.
Cool.
So
That's cool. DropGuard.
DropGuard. Yes.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
I was actually going to say, is there a time range to watch in terms of that?
Definitely quite safe to do here.
Yeah.
it's between 1 and 5 generally.
Central.
Eastern time.
Eastern,
Oh, is it?
it's Eastern.
Eastern? Okay. I feel like that's what I'm.
We shoot for earlier in the day, but it is a volunteer group of people doing this, so.
Are they all released at the same time?
They're typically, with the exception of core, they're all released at the same time. Sometimes we'll do the contrib module and then do core because it's significantly longer to prep for.
This is outside the scope of your talk, and obviously a topic that we could spend many days talking about, but you talked just really high level about hack cleanup, you mess something up or somebody else at a level above you mess something up and you find that you have been hacked.
Yes. There actually is, based on memory, I believe there's a page on Drupal.org that says what to do if your site's been hacked that covers this from sort of approximate memory, hopefully getting it mostly right. You basically have to restore from because it's so restore a database and then clean out any malicious code. Document what you find if you can. That's a best practice. I don't know, but
I guess I can talk this because I have a service that helps people remediate if they get hacked. But it sucks.
Yeah.
You have to restore from clean backup from some time before the attacker got in, because depending on how you have things set up, you can never be totally sure that you removed everything that they could have added. They could have added some backdoor and you won't.
But you can't always even tell for sure when they got in.
Yeah. So if you restore from a backup and you weren't able to figure out how they got in, if they get in again, then you have more work to do.
I typically say that if you don't know when they got in, you rebuild the site. You say,
Yeah.
It depends on the site, but
I had a site that got hacked twice in a year. So the first time it happened, I started with the assumption that I had messed something up, and I to the best of my ability, and I am by no means experienced or have much expertise in this, but I read what Drupal.org said. I read everything I could possibly find. Much of it I couldn't understand, but so I went through everything I could think of. All my modules were up to date. I thought about CK Editor because I know that that's kind of a frequent source. I found the obvious, file that was like generating all these spammy links. I'm pretty sure I found the back door, so I was like pretty sure, to the best of my ability and my client's limited budget, that I had found it. And then several months later, almost a year later, it was hacked again. And by then, I'm pretty vigilant because this happened to me. And so I ended up concluding that it was on a shared hosting, and I ended up
So that was going to be
concluding
the next
that
question, actually.
it was something on the server that was compromised. So again, I went through, I cleaned it to the best of my ability. I actually imported a copy of it into Pantheon and ran the hacked module.
Oh, yeah.
So that was after I had cleaned up everything I could find, because I thought that way, rather than me trying to go through line by line, it will tell me if any of these modules, have code in them that is not supposed to be there. It came out clean, so I exported what I am, please, 99.9% sure is a clean copy, put it into Pantheon, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to plug Pantheon, but called my client in the morning and said, we really have to talk about a new hosting situation. And they were very happy to make that move.
So I got two stories on that. One that you'll see common is they don't actually change files. They'll change something in the database and you'll never find it because you're not scanning files. So one of the common things that we saw was people changing the email address for UID1 and then doing password resets on the email address, never changing the password. Just asking for a one-time login link. They can log in, they can do things. The other thing I found
Did that show up in your
show up in
recent
Watchdog.
login?
Show up in Watchdog unless they deleted it, which is UID1 they could do. The other thing that I found, which is speaking to the managed hosts of the world, if you're on shared hosting, just get off, just run. We had someone who their site was a fresh install of Drupal core. They had 2 content types, barely had any work done on the site, and the site got compromised. So they just said, screw it, we'll start over. Restarted it, started over, got 3 content types, site got compromised. And they were going through the access logs for the site, and there was nothing malicious accessing their site. It was all their IP address. And what was going on is someone had compromised another site on the shared host, enabled the PHP module, and then enumerated the home directory for all instances of settings.php or wp.php, grabbed the database connections, and then connected to the database as those sites and just injected spam everywhere. And they had, we could see the script they used that was in the body of a node, and then they were just calling that every 3 days. So any new site that came onto that shared host got compromised every 3 days.
That's a site that wasn't using open-based here.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you recommend hiding the fact that you're a Drupal site, removing things that people can use to detect that you're a Drupal site, or doesn't that even make a difference?
You can't really. Well, I don't know. I don't think.
Is it worth the effort, or not even a little bit?
I don't think so. There's too many fingerprints. Too many. You don't need to deploy changelog. That's a simple one. There's some things that you can do that are simple, but there's going to be too many fingerprints.
Security by obscurity is not security.
Yeah. Although staying out of the Google dorking indexes for certain things is okay.
Removing changelog doesn't you should just update.
Yes.
Don't bother removing it. Just update.
Yeah.
There's other ways to figure out what version you're on besides changelog.
Yeah, script agents that are taking the easiest way out.
The script keys don't even work.
I've been tracked a couple of times, not on Drupal, but still in conference agreements about. And our process in both instances was I will turn off conflict. Get somebody in there who's an expert, who knows the security, to clean it. Take the site offline immediately, especially if it's doing something to your users. Don't put it back online until your sure is clean. And in our case, we pick up the phone and call pro bono counsel to find out what we should do. Because if you have a security breach, there's legal implications. I wasn't allowed to say anything to anybody until our lawyers had a statement that we posted on the website.
It's not fun. I personally, so I ran an organization that supported many clients. We had some of our clients get hacked, and I was just like dumbfounded. I thought, like, wow, like I can't believe that we screwed up, and we did. But then, like, also we would be called in because somebody else had this thing, like, you know, emergency. We were on the other side of that phone, like, looking at things, and I've seen some crazy things that are out there. And I'm sure I've only seen a very small subset of those crazy things. Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter what you're on. Whether you're on Drupal, WordPress, something of your homegrown like we were, they're going to try to hit you as often as they can, with whatever they can. If you hide the fact that you're on or if they're saying that, they're just going to hit you with all of it. And eventually, if you're not secure, you're going to that.
I'm just going to mention this. I know it's late and we're all wanting to get out of here, but I'm happy to stay around. I'll stay around for more questions. If you could, you know, leave comments. Like this is actually the first time we've been doing this talk, and so I would love to make it better in case that somebody else hears it again. So feedback, either with that great blue link, or to me directly, is super appreciated. So thank you very much.